Greetings, folks. This is Tim from Box Stock Garage. Welcome back to the bench. Welcome back for another Sunday afternoon. Model Cars and Coffee. Cheers. Of course, Model Cars and Coffee, hosted, inspired, thought up by Paul over at Left Coast Model Car Build. So go over and check out his page, his family's page. Family building together, always very cool. And of course, my family, he just trotted up here because I started talking. So Key is in the house. And my wife's downstairs working on her 29, I think. But even though she doesn't have a YouTube channel, Julie and I are getting ready to do a buddy build. Hubby build? Could become a thing. So let me get the camera turned around and see if I can actually fit this thing into the viewing space. You'll see what I mean in just a second. Here it comes. All right, folks. So my intro was okay. And then my microphone died. So now that I've got stuff recharged, so we're back. And so what we're taking a look at here is my Lotus John Player Special Mark III, which is also known as the Lotus 78. And this is the 1/12 scale kit from Tamiya. And we'll talk about the lack of decals in a moment. But, a bit of history on this car. It was a very, very cool car, but very innovative too. It was the first ground effect Formula One car. And Lotus had a lot of success with the Lotus 72 up through 1975. And then they came with the Lotus 77, and that was, kind of meh. And that was in 76. So 77 and part of 78, Lotus ran this car, the Lotus 78. Like I said, it was sponsored by John Player Special Cigarettes. So it was JPS Mark III. And that's how it was originally badged or marketed from Tamiya as well on the box art. Hector Rabach actually had the prototype of this car he bought from Lotus from Colin Chapman. And he ran that for the entire 1978 season on his privateer team. But again, this only ran all of 77, but part of 78. And then the replacement Lotus 79 came out midway through 78. But, in 16 races for Rabach running this car, he had, four he didn't qualify for, 3 more he didn't pre-qualify. So, not so good. And then he had 5 retirements. So he had 4 finishes and only scored 1 point. And he actually didn't even attempt to go to Japan for the final race that year. But with this car in 77, Mario Andretti and Gunnar Nilsson. Mario did well. He had he did okay. Sorry, he had 7 retirements. Gunnar Nilsson had 8, and Gunnar's was the last 7 races in a row he retired. And that was in 1977, and then in 78, Mario had 10 finishes. He had 4 wins. He had a 2nd place, couple of 5ths. But then in 1978, Mario raced 5 races in this car before he switched to the 79. Ronnie Peterson actually had 7 races with this car. Sadly, in Belgium, Ronnie Peterson had to crashed his Lotus 79 in the morning warm-ups, and so he switched to the Lotus 78, his backup car. And then there was the crash at the start of the race, which involved quite a few cars. But Ronnie Peterson was seriously injured, taken to the hospital, operated on, and he died the following morning. So, that was in 1978. I was actually at Watkins Glen the next race after Peterson's death. And I have pictures of the Lotus 79s, Mario's car, as well as the car that would have been Ronnie's car, but I believe it was Jean-Pierre Jarier tried to qualify it. I don't think he qualified for the U.S. Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. That was in October. So I was there. I got some pictures in the garage of that car. Well, the cars, the Lotus 79s. Now about this model, this is one of them that I built when I was a kid. Well, let's address the elephant in the room, or the lack of elephant. This boxing, this is the 1988 boxing. This particular kit. The one that I built when I was a kid was actually the original, the 1980 boxing. And so I didn't have replacement decals for this car. So I tried to use the original decals, and we did okay for about 5 decals. Well, actually 6. Sorry, because there's the E on the side was also okay. But yeah, this was all I got. Once I started to work on the smaller yellow, like the pinstriping that would go like around the body panels and here, that's where the decals just started to come apart. This was in, I finished this in December 2023. So, you're looking at decals that were, 35 years old. But I built this when I was a kid. It came out, I really enjoyed building it then. And so this is another one that I wanted to grab and build, when I got back into the sport, back into the hobby. Gorgeous kit. I mean, really, the fitment on it. The only issues with fitment are strictly my own. The hoses, yeah, the tubing, the wiring is good because the wiring is not going to fail over the years, but the tubing was pretty rough. I had to heat it in some spots to to be able to bend it. And at the time I didn't have any of the replacement tubing, but since then I've bought some Model Factory Hero and some Tamiya replacement tubing. But the tubing that you see down in there, a lot of that I had to heat it just so I could bend it. It was pretty bad. Take a couple more pieces off here. Got the mirrors in there. I didn't have any belts, so there's no belts in the car, but the cockpit came out really nice. Let's get the front off as well. So, the Ford Cosworth engine, really nice, of course, detailed rear end. The suspension's all functional, but holding it in one hand, I'm not going to start messing with the suspension. The steering works as well. We got our fire suppression up here. We've got our radiator. I did have some aftermarket braided line, and so these 2 lines, those are aftermarket. You're supposed to use the black tubing to go from the radiator to the back, but I couldn't because it had been wound up for all those years, so I couldn't straighten it out, even putting heat on it. The exhaust, anybody's built these things, the exhaust is quite the spaghetti monster, and that actually went together well. So all the pipes, and then at the back they went into their respective I'll call them holders. That's not the proper term, but then, like I said, it was the first ground effects car, so you can see that here at the bottom with the skirts. It was a very, very cool car. Back in the day, And I'm really quite pleased with how the kit came out. And I do have I have a later boxing, which I'm going to pull out here in just a moment, and we'll take a look at that. So there we go. So I do have another one of these that I want to build. And like I say, it's a later boxing, so that helps. And I also have the set of aftermarket decals for that later boxing. So I'm just going to shut the camera off, and I'll get that box up here on the bench. But yeah, this is, it still has pride of place on my shelf because the kit itself, the car, the history, it's a beautiful car. And the fact that, the decals didn't work, I could get another set of decals or use the set that I haven't put on here, but I'm going to try and use those on the actual 78 that I have. So anyway, so let's get the camera turned off, and we'll get set up for one last shot here and let you check this out. So thanks. So this is the 2008 boxing of that same kit. So this is, again, there's no John Player Special livery. Nothing is mentioned on here on the box for John Player Special, JPS. And that's why they went with the proper name for the car. I mean, even on the side, you see the decals that come with it as the Olympus cameras, which is legit, sponsorship. That's a legit livery. Because there were places where the car was raced where cigarette advertisement had already been banned. So, but when I picked this up, I also grabbed, and these aren't open, so I'm not going to open them up right now. But these are the Shunko decals. So as you see here, this is the John Player Special livery. This is the South Africa version, which you see at the top, and then it's also got some other decals that are common across all versions of the car. So, but you can see through there, there's, John Player Special. So I've got the, 1977 Type 78. So this would be, since it's 77, this would be Mario and Gunnar Nilsson, and not Ronnie Peterson. So, so that's what we've got. As I said a couple times, I built this when I was a kid. I wanted to build it again, and I did that. But I'll be able to build it one more time. I mean, this is new enough; it even has photo etch parts. I've also got the 1/12 6-wheel Tyrrell P34, which is another one that I built when I was a kid. Have not built that one yet. So that's my second attempt at model cars and coffee. So my intro, I had coffee, and now here I'm doing my redo. It's model cars and Mountain Dew. But anyway, folks, that's what we got. I hope y'all enjoy this, and thanks very much for watching, and hope y'all have a great rest of the weekend, wonderful week ahead. Stay safe, stay warm. We got some nicer weather coming, and hope you get some time in at the bench. This is Tim from Box Stock Garage. We're out of here.